Seven o'clock, let's call our meeting to order, Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, it's 2 o'clock. May I have a roll call, please?
Mark Vance.
Here.
Jeff Goings.
Here.
Owen Costanza.
Here.
Dan Sheik.
Here.
Sine Hubbard.
Here.
Dave Allgood.
Here.
Christy Richardson.
Here.
Roxanne Sosnowski.
Here.
I am Steer.
Here.
All right, let's stand for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Approval of agenda. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Tonight's agenda is approved. Do we have a motion to approve minutes from April 23rd, 2025 Board of Trustee meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second by Mark. All in favor? Opposed? Approval of minutes is approved. Public comment? Department reports. Public Works. Is there any questions, discussion on Public Works report? Any on the engineering report? Okay. Any on the test reports?
I am here tonight, so if
Yeah.
everybody has any questions.
What were we talking about last? Yes, Dave was kind of vague on it, so
So
a
the,
little detail would be nice.
okay, so both plants are SBR plants. They each have like South plant has 3 SBRs, North plant has 4. Everything is automated. In this actuator, there's 2 actuators on each SBR. So at North plant, there's 8 actuators, and each one is automatically controlled by the PLC to open and close depending on what cycle everything is in. And if one of the actuators is bad, it doesn't function properly, and the SBR becomes useless, and we're down a tank and down capacity.
So it's just pretty much like a gate that.
Yeah.
There's a gate that opens.
It's a valve,
Yeah, that's what he said, valve, stuck valve.
Is it a butterfly valve?
more or less, yeah.
No, it's okay.
An expensive
Yeah.
butterfly valve. And some of the cost with this is that it's got a probably 15-foot piece of pipe that has to turn as well, because the valve is down in the tank, and it's in the terrible elements where the actuator is actually up above on the railing. So it's there's some costs involved because there's a lot of moving parts and pieces.
And you have to drain the SBR to get to it to service it.
Yeah, which isn't a big deal. We do it all the time. It's just, we're down capacity, and in the spring with the rain and all that stuff, we don't like to be. And it's functioning now. It's just it won't seal. So that's the problem. Is that it won't seal, and it won't. When the SBR is mixing and creating dirty water, it passes through and goes to downstream and causes issues with the sand filters and the EQ tank and everything there. So, and if anybody would like, I know there's some new faces up there, and I apologize, I haven't been here as much as I'd like to be. If you guys ever want to come down and see the plants or anything, just give me a call, not a problem.
So I was gonna say real quick when he's done, I wanna set up for you guys like Mark and Sine, and if anybody else, David, I don't know if you've been down to the plants. But he's gonna be gone 2 weeks, one in June and one in July,
August.
or August, so I could set up, we could go down, he said he would come in on Saturday for us. And then we could go down and have him give you guys a tour just to bring you up to speed on how everything operates and how everything flows. It's pretty interesting, I mean, and it doesn't smell like you would think. They do a really nice job where we don't have all those odors, you're gonna have an odor, but not the odor that you would think it would be.
In two spots where the influent comes in, both plant smells, but everywhere else it's pretty much odor free, because if a plant's running well, it shouldn't stink.
Right. So when you drive to other villages and you smell those crap, you know something's wrong. So I learned that from him over the years, but should be I just spoke to him, so he'll shoot me in the 2 weeks he'll be gone. Then I'll shoot an email to you guys and invite Christie as well. And anybody that wants to come, he'll give you guys a tour. It's pretty interesting how everything works, so, and you'll see how good of a job they do. Because we used to have lots of issues, and we don't have those issues since Testa's coming and taking over our water and wastewater. He can take you to a pump, he can take you to a lift station, he can take you to a well, one of the well houses, and explain everything. It's pretty interesting. It's good knowledge, so when he talks about things, you have an idea when he's talking about a well or a lift station. You know, I mean, right now you just educate about the SPR tanks and how much each plant has, things like that. But there's a lot of moving parts to it, you know. So it'd be good for you for sure. But I'll set that up with IM and I'll shoot it out to all you guys. Everyone will get it, so if anyone's coming, kind of. IM said he would buy us lunch, so it's good.
I can expense it.
There you go, exactly. Get some of our money back.
Any other questions, comments on wastewater?
Wastewater sewer plants, biggest asset, biggest liability. Can you update everybody on SCADA?
So we have, so just in parts alone, it's gonna be $150,000 to update the north plant. And then it'll be another full month of programming at 8 hours a day. I don't know what our programming rate is. I'm waiting for that piece of the quote to come back, and then I'll have a real quote for you guys on what it's gonna be, but I'm estimating it's probably gonna be around 200,000 just to update this north plant, which everything there is a little, is 4 years older than everything at South Plant, but in that 4 years was from 04 to 08, and the technology and worldwide jumped huge. So, but I'm estimating that that's going to be around 200,000 to do the North Plant, and then there'd be a lot of copy and paste with the South Plant when we do that one, just because they're so similar and a lot of the same pieces. But the big expense is with the actual hardware and product costs. So, but then we know that's going to be about 150,000.
And what windows are we running on, Don?
What's that?
What windows are we running?
Right now, 7.
So that just kind of gives you an idea of how.
Yeah, and that's the problem with this SCADA upgrade, why we've been kind of pushing it and talking about it for the last couple of years, is because it's the dialer system that calls everybody only will work on Windows 7 and older, and the new version won't work on older stuff. The iFix program that the SCADA runs and communicates with everything, that will only work on Windows 7, and the dialer program won't work with anything. It's just a communication issue between everything we have is old, and the new stuff won't talk to the old stuff.
And when he's talking about the dialer systems, the dialers, each of the lift stations has dialers on them, so if something goes wrong, he gets a phone call from the system to get him out there and say, hey, something's not working right, the pump's not turning on, or what it would be, so that he can go to either the lift station, or he can go to the plant and see exactly what's going on. There's not too many false calls.
No.
So
I mean,
usually you get calls.
and we are the log me in we pay for. That's so I can get on my computer or my phone and look at the computer here and find out if it's something that needs direct attention, to where I need to either come out myself, call our on-call guy, or if it can wait till Monday. like a lot of lift stations or, the plant, for example, has 3 equalization pumps, which pump the clean water out of the plant. If one of those faults, there's still 2 backups. We can wait till Monday or wait till the next day to deal with it. And actually at South Plant, we can pump water through the plant faster than we can get it to the creek. Because one time we turned the pumps up to see what kind of flow we can get, and it came out of the floor. So, because, I mean, it was clean water, so it wasn't a big deal. You know, so there's that. If you guys have any questions, please reach out.
You're gonna learn a lot about our plants next coming years that you're gonna be here. So it's interesting stuff. It's one of the fortes I like. That's why I like to communicate with Diane and David about wastewater and water and public works. Have a big interest in it.
Yep, no problem.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? Move on. All right. 5, motion to approve bounce house options for neighbors night.
All right, move to discuss.
Diane, if you're gonna go.
And a second?
Second.
I mean, that's what I'm doing.
Renee, could you be so kind?
Yeah, so I handed everyone a printout today. This is an updated quote from, Playhouse and that's in town here. And then in the packet, Carrie, I don't know if you want to scroll to that one, is the.
I'll blow it up.
Yeah, it's a quote from State Line. 2 things to know. Okay, this one you can, that's the one we have here.
Okay.
So the paper one is more accurate, one that's in front of you. The State Line one, I want to note that that one does not have a generator on it, but the generators from State Line are $89. So it's comparable to Playhouse, which is $100. And the Playhouse quote that we have in front of us does not have tax on it. So I don't know if that is something that we, oh, okay, there's not. one.
Yeah, there's no tax.
We should have generators checked.
Yeah, we,
Okay, didn't know, so I got quotes.
Not sure.
but I don't know how small the one we have.
That one in the picture looks about the same size as ours. We have a couple of Honda ones.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, we use them for Christmas tree lights and stuff.
We can ask David if we can use them, and if
Yeah,
he says they're broken, or not broken, but you know,
Yeah, enough capacity.
city and all that.
When is neighbors night?
June 14th.
I'll be out of town, but I have tests as generators too, you guys can use.
Okay, so we can remove that.
we can take that off the list.
So, basically, we just have 1 obstacle course and something a little bit smaller for the younger kids, and then, staff, 2 staff each, on each load. So they're similar, looks like Playhouse comes in a little bit less, especially if we take off the generator, so. But we can adjust these, we can get bigger obstacle course, smaller bounce houses, whatever, but, I think we thought that this would be a good, something for everybody.
Anyone else? Comment?
For 2 people.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Do you have a preference of one over the other?
So I think, locally is our Playhouse, and they're coming in a little bit cheaper as well, and we've used them in the past.
Yeah, and they've been good.
Move to approve Playhouse.
Second.
Jeff? Roll call, please.
Dan Sheep.
Yes.
Mark Nance.
Yes.
Owen Costanza.
Yes.
Dave Allgood.
Yes.
Jeff Going.
Yeah,
Renee Hubbard.
Okay, motion to approve the Playhouse quote for neighbors fest, neighbors night
This will go out in June.
Number 6, motion to discuss neighborhood status and expenses.
Move to accept the status and
Correction.
And I try to at the same time, or,
I need to make it.
Always.
okay, yeah, there you go. All right. I think we on this one. So this is just a quick spreadsheet to put together, just kind of showing you kind of where the numbers are right now. This is obviously what you want.
Spreadsheets are.
Yeah, just with the budget. I think that's the most critical. This one. Back. Yeah, right. Oh, right there.
Okay.
Left. Go to the right.
So just so that you have all together kind of where funds are estimated to potentially go. Obviously, we have the obstacle course now that's proposed expense. We've also talked about a handful of other guardians, and there's a list as well that I provided that shows all of the confirmed activities thus far and any of those that are still outstanding based on discussion tonight.
So who's the DG?
Well, it's not, you can talk about it now.
Oh.
It's RPN is who I had quote. They've done it in the past. Yes.
Wow.
Or no, it's longer than that.
Yeah.
It's from 4 and actually until after the fireworks are over. Yeah, and so, yeah, he's done the music for the fireworks in the past. So that's where I would like to spend the additional funds. So, but I'm open for discussion based on the list I provided. Questions, thoughts?
Yeah,
You
so.
guys talked about pickle,
Yeah,
like the names and the research on pickle.
We were looking for something else, entertainment wise for the kids, and, Ortiz was already booked for that day, so Pickles the Clown is available for $135 an hour.
Ooh,
Just for picking.
just for face painting, was it? No balloon animals, nothing? Jeez.
Animal crackers.
Still, you think it's a balloon animal, so that right.
There you go.
Face painting is probably more fun than the animals. Less mess for us to clean up in the park.
You wouldn't have any objection to wearing a costume, would you?
I wouldn't.
Why would we want them to change?
Anyways.
The list, and I know that the foods in there, they're doing that. free of cost. So I think 700 is reasonable for each. And I like the activities that are listed.
And the unconfirmed, because we also have to talk about pickle, so if, whether we want to include that or not, it does seem as though right now we do have potential for a sponsor, $2,000. So that is not included in this number right now, so to be aware of. But if we opt for pickle the clown, do we have 2 hours, 3 hours?
Can I ask, what does Pickles the Clown do?
Face painting.
Yeah.
Oh,
You haven't been paying attention. That's what you do.
So.
I'll ask about the.
Love you, Gary.
And you said what, 135 an hour?
2 hours.
That's
That's always a big deal.
Consensus right now for 2 hours.
Are we doing,
We're comfortable, are we comfortable with the DJ at $700?
Did you say it's RPM?
Yes, it is RPM. And then we also talked about the outside yard games, where they're like the bigger ones. I know that Carrie, you had mentioned today.
yes.
The park district may be able to loan us some of their bigger. The other one I was thinking that the Playhouse has is they have the blow up axe throwing game for $150. I thought was fun, which is what I included here. And what you do not see here though is, just to be clear, is that I've allocated no additional funds right now for advertising in the shopper, which in the past we have done based on this budget, so just make sure it's clear with that.
Do people,
Do you think it's necessary?
The only time, the only time I keep my shopper is one of my neighbors texted me and said, hey, my kid made varsity, what, and it's in, can I get your copy?
They have been taking the ads and making them digital on Facebook and their social too, but we can do that as well.
I posted one today.
Yeah, I saw it. So I mean, just,
So it sounds like we have a consensus, to go ahead with the additional activities that we have here and outlined in the budget that's provided. So, any other questions or concerns?
So we got DJ, the Playhouse, pickles, and then you said you're gonna get some yard games, don't we?
We're gonna,
Potentially.
potentially, yeah.
yeah, you wanna pull up a lamp,
And that's on top.
these activities are already,
Yeah.
she's got the.
Yeah, those were the only ones that were unconfirmed part of the discussion.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's what we agreed to.
Yes. Yep.
So right now it's been 79 degrees and sunny day, 68 is
Well,
low,
that's
no rain in the forecast.
that's the case.
Hopefully it's
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we move on? Number 7. Motion to approve the replacement of the Ravens Crest sign from Signature Streetscapes for a total of $2,748. Motion by Owen. Nay. Jack, would you like to take the lead on this, please?
Yeah, I could. Mr. Schneider is here, Larry. I've been working with Larry. Larry mentioned he wants to add some beautification to the entrance. The old sign was starting to come apart at the bricks. David removed it. We tried to save the lettering to where maybe we could add those to a future sign, but that wasn't an option when they tore the old sign down. So we had this pretty much pre-approved last year. Larry put a lot of time into this. We had some of the trees, there was 4 trees in the entryway. They died, so those were removed. It was pretty much, it's down to bare bones right now. So what he did, I got the addresses from all the homeowners from our assessor, and then Larry put together a letter. I should have put it in the packet. So he sent out to all the residents, give feedback, see if anybody wanted to donate. I think he got $30 from all the 84 homeowners that were
Somewhere there.
84 or whatever. But they sent money back to the village, and the village collected it. $10 or $30?
$10 went to the clerk.
Okay. So, oh, it's here. So here's the sign. So this is the proposed sign. So he worked, he sent it back, spent a lot of time, a lot of effort doing all this. There's some more, he has kind of a wish list, but we'll get to that down the road. We do have some people that are gonna reach out, help pitch in, maybe do a little fundraiser for that entrance. We also have on the agenda upcoming, talking about other entrances in the village. So this was pretty much pre-approved last year, so like I said, Larry spent a lot of time trying to raise some money to make this a little bit better, but this is what we came up with for cost. The last time we brought it up last year was $3,000, so it's under budget. What we agreed as a board last time, if everybody's okay for it, I recommend that we pass this, get the sign ordered. It's gonna take 4 to 6 weeks, I think, to get it.
Yes.
Right, so, and also Larry, we're gonna meet, me, David, Christie, and Larry are gonna meet, talk about some of the landscape things. And then we'll see how David wants to approach it. We gotta get our public works director's input on this. So we're gonna have a meeting, but we wanna get that sign ordered so that we can get it, eventually receive it, and we'll move forward once it comes and discuss about the installation of place setting, everything like that. So I'm recommending that we.
I had a question.
Sure.
So this is for the sign only? Oh,
It's already.
Oh, it already did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, I'm tired, I'm sorry.
Yes, I had a question. So this is for the sign only, and then we would be looking for our public works to do the installation then?
Yes, they can do this.
Because I saw on the next page, it said optional concrete footers. And I think that's just gonna be a wind sail, so I'd like to see that not be an option. I'd like to, like when we install it, let's put those concrete footers in there.
I'm sure.
Well, David will do that. They'll
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
We have a.
Otherwise, it's just gonna.
Yeah, no, no,
it's just
it's gonna be,
break
it's
down.
gonna be,
Yeah.
it ain't gonna go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Questions? Roll call, please.
Mark Vance,
Yes.
David Allgood,
Present.
Owen Costanza,
Yes.
Jeff Goings,
Yes.
Dan Sheet, Sine Hubbard.
Yeah. Motion to approve the replacement sign for Ravens Crest has passed. Motion to discuss non-HOA entrances.
Second.
Second by Dan.
Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
Go ahead, please.
So this has been a long road with these signs, just like this Ravens Crest sign, long discussion, long before, when I was on the board, we've always kind of kicked a can down the road. We put this together, and David sent this out. I've been really thinking about how we integrate this in to the failed HOAs, the HOAs that didn't form, and they're still part of the villages. I've got two thoughts, either, this sign was that expensive, but my thoughts are, either we just bite the bullet and integrate this into our normal maintenance scheme, or maybe we look at doing the special assessments for those subdivisions. Let them decide if they want it or not. Those are my two thoughts. Because they're gonna sit there, they're gonna rot. Just like this one, this Olson Wood one got pretty bad. I think when you got up close to it, the water had gotten in the center of it, cracked it open. Water does. So, I mean, we're already taking care of grass and things like that. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
So, can't remember. Do HOAs never came to be, or did they dissolve?
Both. It depends on where it was. They just were never formed, and some of them were just one HOA. The builder, as I recall, sent the check stack to all the homeowners and said, "Here, you guys take care." And it was just the phone.
They're already doing the maintenance other than the signs.
Right.
Signage.
Some of these,
Well, I mean, I just look at it, everybody's an equal taxpayer.
Yeah.
And then the only problem I see with this is those subdivisions getting treated better than ones that never had a potential for an HOA or want to dissolve. What makes that subdivision no better than this subdivision? Just because they were supposed to be an HOA or their HOA dissolved, it doesn't change the fact that we're all paying property taxes on our home. I guess favoritism is the way I'd look at it. Honestly, I mean, if you look at my, there ain't no sign, right? I still pay property taxes.
I don't even know if that's.
They're ahead of the game, when you guys get, storm drains and curbs. I still gotta pay my taxes. And like I said, I'm not against it, this was kind of village fault because it got taken down.
Yeah.
Without knowing, and it had to be replaced.
I mean, possibly that's an option too. Maybe when they get to this point, we just tear it out and just maintain the grass like we did. I mean, I don't know.
so these signs, some of these you've seen from these pictures, these signs are actually monuments. All right, if one of these things had to be repaired or replaced, we're talking about something a whole lot more than $3,000. But you also gotta keep in mind that these signs and these monuments were advertising material for the developers. And so now the developer has a defunct project, you have a defunct HOA, and we inherit the problem. I'm in agreement with you, Dan. If you're going to give one section a sign, then everybody should have a sign. But, to me, I think we got bigger fish to fry, and we got some other things that we really need to be considering where our funds need to be going before we start long-term planning on tens of thousands of dollars of signs from defunct advertising from defunct subdivisions. Not that this, no, this, a special assessment to the owners that are in these subdivisions, sure. If they would like to keep or maintain a sign, sure. I don't think that anybody on this board would have an objection to the residents paying for a sign that would be placed on village property. But there again, are we standing on the doorstep to something that could cost us tens of thousands of dollars over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years? What if a dump truck gets one of these monument signs? Is the insurance company gonna cover it all? You know, there's lots of things that could happen here. We're basically picking up on advertisement from a situation that never came to fruition.
You can speak, but during public comment.
Just curious, on the sign that we just approved, what do we estimate the lifespan of that is going to be, or can we estimate what the lifespan is?
Powder coated metal should last a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's powder
Like,
coated.
like long, I
It's
just want to
the fall.
ballpark.
It depends on the winter.
Powder coating, it should hold up a good 20, 30 years.
Depends on weather, depends on storm damage. It could be all kinds of parameters that we can't.
May I offer a comment?
Certainly.
This sign was picked for a lifetime, just for that reason.
So,
Yes,
so I do know that, it did spec the material out on the quote there, and so a lot of that was cast aluminum, and then, the other one, if we could scroll back up, that looked like it's,
What's
aerospace grade all the way up to the quote.
Oh, I see.
To Ravens.
Yes, yeah, so this one here, so it's 6063, which is an aircraft aluminum, so that should be, you know, our generation and the next generation, for sure. Yeah, or even longer than that.
Jeff, do you want to speak to?
Oh, I wanted Carrie to scroll back down, just so you know, this is what Ravens Crest entrance looks like right now. And it did have a big brick, which was down by the builder, it was gold letters, it said Ravens Crest. And there were trees there were 4 trees there. Oh, were they there? I forget, purple.
The prairie fire.
Prairie fire palm trees. They don't bear fruit,
Well, small animals.
small, yeah.
If I could just interject just for 1 minute. So when the meeting of the village board convenes after public comment, that's the only time that the board members are able to engage and debate and have conversations. If we have members of the public just kind of speaking out from the public, and I don't mean to direct my comments to anyone specifically, it's just, it does get difficult for the clerk who does have to take the minutes. The Village of Poplar Grove does have very specific rules with regard to public comment. You do have to fill out a sheet. Then if you want to speak during an agenda item, there's a separate process for that. So I just want to make sure that everyone is following along with the rules that are required here in the village, simply because if we don't do that, then it becomes difficult for the clerk who's taking the minutes. She may know who you are, but if we have someone else here in that seat, they may not necessarily know. And it's a reminder also to the trustees as well, we shouldn't be calling upon people in the audience.
Thanks, sir.
Trustee Alden brought up a good point I never even really thought of. You know, what if a truck does hit one of these monument signs? We don't have this listed on our insurance, we don't own it. So who would the insurance company even pay for those signs? That's a great, I never really kind of thought of it that way. So maybe it is maybe that's one of the things we do is a special assessment we add to our insurance. I don't know.
Under the truck driver?
Well, who do you pay? So who's gonna write the check to? The village says, we don't have those listed on our insurance, I know we don't.
The village owns that one,
Which one?
Ravens Crest.
We just bought that, but yes, but I mean, the other signs. who
No,
own-
no, we own that island, that's the village's property, David says it.
Okay, so, but on the other signs, though, you know,
Well, it's something
we don't list them. I mean, that's something you take consideration. I mean, how do other municipalities handle this? They're sent out to clerks.
Well, we're saying that, you know.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any other municipal client that I represent that is purchasing signage for subdivisions. Typically, the signage that is there through the pendency of an HOA if one's present, and then is later taken down in the event that it's no longer maintained.
That's an option.
So with this, consensus, do we want to move forward with additional research on dealing with them, or if we come to a consensus in which how to deal with them?
I don't even know how we would survey the residents of the subdivisions to say, even with a special assessment, kind of similar to it's a sign. I don't think it would pass.
We just did that. We had $30 million out of 84 homeowners. We asked for it if they want to donate
To $30, so you're not at 84.
84.
If I could just chime in for just a second on the legality of a special assessment. So a special assessment is a taxing device that municipalities use to then, once a cost is incurred, like I'll use as an example, a subdivision that doesn't have curb and gutter. So the city of Loves Park annexed in a few subdivisions that were developed in Boone County without curb and gutter. Those subdivisions then wanted to have storm sewer and curb and gutter. And so what the city of Loves Park did is they created a special assessment, which is a taxing mechanism, that then on the individual property owner's property tax bills for the next, 15 to 20 years, they pay an additional property tax to the municipality to pay for those improvements. So the municipality fronts the money to pay for the cost, but then the actual individual homeowners are paying for that cost back through their property tax bill. In order to have a special assessment pass, you need to have more than, it's 51% that has to be an agreement. So it wouldn't just be a couple of homeowners, contributing $10 here or, $30 there. It would be a mechanism that would be passed by the municipality that then would be an amount on a property tax bill for whatever period of time the ordinance is passed for.
So, those, in that subdivision, were those people individually, how did they vote that 50%? With the board, how did those people?
They have to register an objection. It's a legal process.
Oh, I was curious on that.
Yeah.
I think that would probably be the only way, or take the same.
Well, then,
Yep, Jeff.
they'll add value.
Mhm.
Add value to the homes and the subdivision.
Subject.
I was hit the name.
So,
Those were just things I was thinking, that makes sense. We want to ask, I don't know, what are the condition of the other signs? Break it down, and then you go pictures of them.
I did, and I looked at just the basic, kind of what was around the sign itself, and, but I didn't get out of my vehicle to do a physical assessment, and I don't know that I would be able to give it a grading system as
Maybe
well.
we should actually degrade them, see where we're at.
Well, why would we do that if we don't even know what we want to do? If we want to maintain them, take them down.
Give us
So why would we
age.
spend the time with David?
How many signs we talked about?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not including obviously the new Ravens president, so there are 5. Well, and to be fair, I take it back to 6, correct myself, because Westergren has 2 old signs on either side. There.
David's background in concrete, and most of the sense of concrete, he should be able to give us an assessment. That won't take much this time.
There's a consensus to have them graded and bring them back.
You kick it down the road and that's what.
Do you need a motion?
No.
Isn't certain oaths?
It was, I think it was supposed to be, I saw some comments.
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It never formed.
Neither did Westergren.
Either Medford and Green.
Yeah, neither did Further Green.
I mean, do the deeds, reflect the defect of the HOA governments and bylaws? I mean, this would be a question, because you have some that say Sherman Oaks is an HOA, some that say it isn't an HOA, but yet we're talking about one of these signs that says Sherman Oaks on it.
It was never formed as my, some, Curtis Green was formed as well. This one was never formed.
Okay.
My knowledge. So yeah, I think we just have to agree these things. See where we're at.
Wish to proceed?
Yes.
Aaron?
No.
Joe?
I think we should determine what we're gonna do first. Sorry.
No.
Just that having David assess them.
I think it's valuable.
Have we started?
Time. So Christie,
Decision from there.
All right, let's move on. Number 9, motion to discuss ordinance 2024-12, an ordinance of the Village of Poplar Grove, Illinois, established in Title 1, Chapter 5, Section 155 of the Village Code of Ordinances regarding a code of personal conduct.
Motion to discuss ordinance 24, or 2024-12.
Second.
Dave, second by Owen. Roxanne, have you had an opportunity to look at this one?
I'm familiar with the ordinance, yes.
So would you just give a brief synopsis of what this is?
Sure. Can you scroll up a little bit, please, Carrie? No, the other, I'm sorry, scroll down, I guess. Oh, yeah, that'd be great. So, as a result of some conduct that was occurring at the time back in 2024, this ordinance was drafted in an effort to attempt to restore some order to things that were occurring during village board meetings again at that time. Just indicating that, it serves as a reminder to the elected officials that they should wait to be recognized by the presiding officer of the meeting, wait and not interrupt other speakers, attempt to try to avoid disregarding the rules of the board, which are established under Robert's Rules of Order. And then it spells out a process if you're not essentially upholding one of these 8 things. It spells out a process that would allow a vote of 2/3 of all members of the village board to expel a member from a meeting for not adhering to the code of conduct. Again, this was it came out of a series of discussions because incidents were occurring at meetings that, required, I think, an adherence to just some basic and general rules of conduct. Most of what you could see here in this ordinance actually is a product of Robert's Rules of Order. I know that Nancy Sylvester has come to this community numerous times and has done Robert's Rules of Order parliamentary procedure trainings. So many of the things that you see here in this ordinance are actually processes and procedures that you've already adopted via Robert's Rules of Order. It's just now codified in your code.
Mayor?
Oh, I would just say, I think that connection is right.
So, as everybody knows, we serve at large. We do not serve in wards or districts. We are elected by all of the voters that voted for us in the last election. So we represent all of the village, not just a section of the village. If a resident comes to me and asks me to voice their opinion, I feel obligated to do so. If I feel that I also want to add my opinion to that, I feel I should also do so. By being restricted or by being limited to that voice, in my opinion, is a constitutional violation. It's a violation of the First Amendment. If council says that there's another village out there that has an ordinance like this that can expel or stifle a trustee, then I will consider this. If she says, no, there is no other villages that she represents that has an ordinance like this, then I emphatically infer that we repeal this ordinance in its entirety.
I'll second.
If I could, in terms of making a motion like that, that isn't on the agenda. You have a motion to discuss. You can't take any action on this item tonight.
Yeah, it's a first reading, so, yes, Mark.
So I have a question as far as what the Roberts Rule of Order covers and how I understand how the board and the president can make a motion and put action on things. It doesn't seem like we're getting anything out of this ordinance that we don't already have. Is that true? Outside of that, we're just documenting this rule. It seems like we can do that anyway.
This to me is adding restrictions and limitations and penalties for exercising your First Amendment.
Can you describe that though? Can you tell me where it's being listed? Like, if you wanted to bring forward something that, you know, one of the residents wanted you to bring forward, and then you wanted to also speak your opinion on it, where in here is the thing that we can't do?
Well, here is saying that if the board finds that what they're trying to deliver is not palatable, they can be excused. They can be shut down and excused from the meeting.
Check was on once and thrown out.
This has happened in this building to a trustee. They were stopped from exercising their constitutional right.
Yeah, if I could, so paragraph B states that if any elected official is acting in a manner that is contrary to the personal conduct provisions, which are delineated in items 1 through 8. So expressing an opinion, bringing forth a matter that a resident may have, that's not delineated in items 1 through 8. I understand that this ordinance in the past may have been weaponized in a way in which it's not drafted to do so. But, you know, I would, to answer your question regarding whether or not there are any other communities that we have that have similar ordinances, there are. The city of Freeport has a very similar ordinance that allows for expulsion of with a 2/3 vote. I'm familiar with many other communities that do as well. Again, I think that, you know, the devil is in the details in terms of how the ordinance is being interpreted by who's sitting in this chair in terms of serving as, you know, the assistant to the parliamentarian of the meeting, as well as the village president. So again, items 1 through 8 in the conduct that you're describing, Trustee Alwood, they would not be violated in any way.
Could you speak to the fact that there's been concerns over whether or not this does violate about elected official freedom of speech?
Sure, if you look at items 1 through 8, so if we could scroll up just a little bit, Carrie. So, you know, what you see here is a continued attempt to not adhere to the rules that are adopted by this body as Robert's Rules of Order. So continuing to speak without being recognized. That's not a violation of a First Amendment right of a trustee. You just simply have to wait your turn. Interrupting other recognized speakers. That's not a violation of your First Amendment right. That's a violation of Robert's Rules of Order because you have to wait your turn. Disregarding a ruling or order from the presiding officer, again, that's a requirement under Robert's Rules of Order. That's not a violation of someone's First Amendment rights. There's nothing in this ordinance that is content-based. Again, I understand that it may have been weaponized in the past to control speech, but that's not how this ordinance should have been interpreted, and it's not how this ordinance should have operated in practice.
So you would not agree that somebody being expelled so they could not finish speaking would not be a restriction?
I can't speak to specific instances because I wasn't here when those occurred, but if someone was removed from a meeting with a 2/3 vote because they were constantly interrupting recognized speakers, or they were continuing to speak without being recognized by the chair, you know, yes, those would be instances in which the ordinance was violated.
Okay, so if everybody was acting professionally, what would the useful purpose of this ordinance be?
There really wouldn't be one. I will say though, it has been my experience here in the village of Poplar Grove, and again, I get it, I have not been here for
about a year now, this ordinance was desperately needed. There were multiple instances where I sat in this chair and watched multiple members of this board completely unable to conduct themselves professionally. So I would urge the board to really consider, the thought process behind the ordinance. And again, obviously you can't take action on it at the meeting tonight anyway. But if you are looking to make changes to this document, I would, urge you to really, take a look at what happened in the past, the reasons why these very reasonable rules were put in place, and consider that as you're looking at future meetings. Because again, I sat in this chair and watched multiple meetings where the clerk it was absolutely impossible for her to be able to take the minutes because multiple people were speaking over one another from the dais, not the audience, all at the same time. And it just doesn't serve anyone's best interest, especially not the public's.
So I did ask the question, of this ordinance and the power of the board and the president to do so, without this ordinance. I still don't see what we're gaining here outside of documentation. Is it true or is it not true that we could do this with or without the ordinance? Could we have a vote of order? Yes, it is. So could we have a vote of order? If somebody's out of order and they're persistently asked to get back into order and they choose not to, right? Couldn't we do this without the ordinance anyway?
For the expelling portion, no, I don't think so. That's a
Okay.
product of this ordinance. But in terms of the rules of order and not speaking unless you're called upon, raising your hand, not interrupting other recognized speakers, yes, those are, typically, those are adopted rules under Robert's Rules of Order. But again, you're relying on someone to sort of self-police themselves, right? So the purpose of subparagraph B was to have a mechanism in which someone was unable to control themselves.
Thank you. Yep.
I get it, we're a board, but I've personally seen, watching, C-SPAN, the Speaker of the House remove a congressman with the Sergeant of Arms, an elected congressman. We don't have a Sergeant of Arms, but it's not like it doesn't happen. And it was for their conduct, screaming and hollering in the House. So it's not an unheard of thing. It is, I just remember seeing that when Speaker of the House was done. And had Sergeant Arms remove that congressman. And I get what you're saying, nobody that was still elected official that they had removed from the House. It happens on bigger platforms than this. This is my 2 cents.
Certainly.
It was weaponized, and it could be in the future, so. We have Robert's rules.
Jeff?
So this was definitely weaponized. I was the one and only that this was brought about. It was a shit show by administration, not gonna lie. It was a circus. It was ridiculous. Week after week after week, month after month after month. It was a circus. And I just want to say I'm glad that the circus is over and the clowns are gone. That's my 2 cents. You want to leave it, leave it. Like I said, I'm the only one. I don't see this ever being happen to be used again here with our new board. A lot of respectful people here, a lot of smart people here, a lot of good people here. We dealt with clowns, unfortunately, in the last one. Nothing but clowns. They're an embarrassment. They separated us from our surrounding communities. Just clownship. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we have civility and peace and quiet.
Any other comments? Any other further discussion? Did you have a consensus of what we'd like to do with this ordinance? So any what would you like to see or amend or?
I personally think it's fine. We should need to enact it, but if we do need to, then at least it's in writing. We can do something about it. I think it's fine.
police regard, we should protect the next people that come in here.
I think we should move this to a second reading so that we can motion up whether or not we're going to repeal it.
I think we should. I don't think we're gonna have to use for it.
So,
I think it'd be left as a reminder. We'll never use it, but as a reminder.
I would like a second reading.
alright, so then we will have a second reading of June 20th. June 11th, sorry, I'm ahead of myself. All right, number 10, discussion on ordinance 2024-07, an ordinance of the Village of Poplar Grove, Illinois, amending Title 1, Chapter 5, Section 15-2 of the Village's Code of Ordinances.
Move to discuss.
Second.
Second. Dave. Go ahead on.
I would like to see the part removed where it has to be a work related. Somebody chooses to be at the death bed of their family member, or on vacation, and so chooses to want to participate, voice their opinion, they should be allowed to.
Yep, family or other emergency is included in the ordinance. It's number 3.
It should be emergency, it should just, I mean, I got emails back, one proof that I was with a customer, I had actually had my company attorney respond to this board and say, it's none of their business what I'm doing, or who I'm with, when I am with a customer that's confidential. So I don't know who was interpreting
I
that.
think this is what you're talking about. You have
The reporting requirements, I think, is what you're referring
Yeah,
to as
that
the
part.
issue.
Somebody wants to
It's
call it?
not the delineated reasons. The delineated reasons are statutory. It's this additional paragraph that I think you're referring to
Yeah.
that was drafted by Austin Davies.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And he's the one that my
If
word
there's the
contract.
consensus of the board, I can draft an amendment to that. I remember the
Yeah,
issue.
Lead it.
Is there
Yeah, I can-
consensus?
Yes.
Mark?
Is there a
Delete,
consensus?
please.
Yeah,
Unnecessary, yeah.
I'll prepare that for the next meeting. Okay.
That one seems pretty easy. Do you anything else, Jeff?
Well, I just wanna say, we're here for the people, the residents. We shouldn't have to answer them. If we wanna participate in our meetings, we shouldn't be blocked like this and have all these, oh, let this person know, let this person know to the clerk.
I understand, Trustee Cummings. I'll prepare that amendment and have it for the next meeting.
Thank you.
All right, number 11. Motion to approve medical, dental, and vision plan renewal.
Move. Second.
Okay, motion by Snee. All right. So there's a lot of paperwork in here. I don't think to be honest with you, the most important pieces of the paper, as I can define, are the medical market study, what was and was not. It's at the very end. I went back and pulled it out. It's like this.
75.
So that one kind of creates a synopsis of where they went and looked at potential networks to see if they were compatible, if they dealt with municipalities, and what the outcome kind of was that. And then based on that, the numbers that you see for a major medical plan comparison on page 76, is their recommendation to the board. This has, our medical insurance, dental, all that renews July 1st. So we want to give the board some time to take a look at it first time around and hopefully bring it back first meeting of June, sorry. That way we can have an open enrollment period if there's any changes for employees at that meeting. If you would like, I'd be more than happy to ask the insurance agent to come and walk through any particular questions that the board may have on that. So
Is this plan very similar to the one it's going to be replacing?
It's Blue Cross Blue Shield, it's the
Okay.
same.
The employees are not going to lose anything?
No.
Is the cost to the employee going to increase?
If you look at page 76,
It's 11% increase.
yeah,
It's about market what I'm seeing.
Yep,
right now.
and that's for the major medical. It's an 8.9% increase for the dental recommendation and 3.8% for the vision recommendation.
And percentage wise, what is the net increase to the village?
It's 11%.
11% total?
I've seen some municipalities that are getting their renewals back as high as 15 to 17%. So, some years you get lucky and it's around a 5% increase. Other years it's all market based, it's claims based. It's depending on, how healthy your employee group is. So this is pretty standard. I think, again, from knowing your employee pool and the fact that you have a collective bargaining agency that represents some of your employees here. Also, you do some requirements under that collective bargaining agreement to attempt to maintain substantially similar insurance coverage. I would suggest the village, renew your current plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield under the proposed terms.
Yeah, the motion was to approve, not discuss, so why not?
You guys
Right,
voted
no,
first, yeah.
we are discussing it.
Oh,
And this does meet the expectation of the collective bargaining agreement.
Discuss through, yeah.
I would just suggest that if you're going to approve it this evening, which you can, just amend the motion to include renewal with Blue Cross Blue Shield so that it's on the record.
I will amend the motion to include, approving Blue Cross again for the renewal.
Well, the way that it's worded, it's medical, dental, and vision.
What do you mean, just agree to all three of them?
So,
I'll second that.
Do you guys want a second read or approve it tonight?
That's for every.
as long as we're meeting the proper requirements, can we have a roll call, please?
Jeff Billings,
Yes.
Dan Sheik,
Yes.
Sine Hubbard,
Yes.
Ellen Costanza,
Yes.
Dave Allgood,
Yes.
Mark Vance.
Yes.
So the motion to approve the renewal of Blue Cross Blue Shield for medical, dental, vision, and the way that they're stated, it's not just Blue Cross Blue Shield, but it's for medical, dental, and vision passes. Because it's Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Correct, yeah.
All right, number 12. Motion to approve check disbursement for payment scheduled to be paid before May 2022, 2025 in the amount of $151,960.49 checks, $19,650 estimated payroll for 5/16, estimated payroll on 5/30/25 for $19,650 for a total of $191,260.49.
Motion to approve total disbursements of $191,260.49.
Motion by Dave.
Second.
Second by Owen. Any questions? So I just would like to say in this packet this time. So we are trying to move to what the board had requested and proper way to do checks, which is doing checks twice a month. And this is actually a invoice that will be paid, as you see, expected check run date. So this is actually the invoices, the detailed invoices you approve before the checks are actually cut and then signed. So that's why this report looks a little bit different than we've seen in the past. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. Questions? Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Jeff Billings,
Yes.
Dan Sheik,
Yes.
Mark Vance,
Yes.
Dave Allgood,
Yes.
Ellen Costanza, Sine Hubbard.
Yes.
Motion to for the check disbursement, the total $191,260.29. All right, last but not least, motion to discuss scheduling of special board meeting for budget workshop.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Dave. Okay, so I've been working on the budget. I am at this point 90% done. Wrapping up just a couple of loose end general ledger lines, if you will, just to do some figuring, but we are ready so that we can have our first budget workshop meeting and go line by line. So let's look at our schedules and come up with a date so that.
Saturday or Sunday?
No, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, always.
I said Saturday or Sunday.
No,
You
Thursdays.
didn't know when
I
they
come
put
back
it
on
in.
Sundays.
What day do you not want? That's what I'm gonna insist on.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay, so it's gonna be a Friday. And we're gonna look while you're in the wash.
Yeah, let's go.
Look at this month or
I'm
early
looking at
next month?
the
maybe?
first week in June. 'Cause we're trying to make our July 31st deadline,
Yep.
and by the time that we do that, revisions, it has to go to public hearing, all that fun stuff.
So
So
we put in the paper.
What day is June 1st on?
Sunday.
June 1st is on
How
Sunday.
many weeks is it gonna be in the paper? 2 weeks in the paper?
10 days.
10 days in the paper.
June 2nd, it's a Monday? Let's do it, let's get it done. Monday night, June 2nd.
I'm
You're
free.
you're talking about doing it on a Monday night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Monday, June 2nd. She needs time, she's got a lot of work to do.
We start at 6 months from now.
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
o'clock.
Is that the date available for you?
Trustee's buying dinner.
I can make it.
Yes, 6 PM
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us.
We're looking at Monday, June the 2nd.
at 6
That
PM.
comes up.
The second one's on a Friday.
Hopefully you'll change that other ordinance.
Monday, June 2nd at
6
6
p.m.
PM.
Can we get an email reminder?
Yes.
Oh, I can give you a nice back drop.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, we're closed, guys. Hang on. We're good at the village. Village Hall will be closed for Memorial Day on May 26, 2025. Board meeting of trustees is June 11th, 2025 at 7 o'clock. 11th annual neighbors night, June 14th, 2025, between 4 PM and 9:30. And our second of the month board of trustees meeting on June 25th, 2025 at 7 o'clock. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Dave, a second?
Second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Are you kidding?
We're adjourned at 8:06. 8:07.
I know, it's a little sharp.
I do.
Thank you for the table report. It was very easy to read, so much different, it makes sense. It came through. I
We'll
really
watch it
hope
on
you
YouTube.
get to see it.
Yeah.
Second,
Hold that for.
We're meeting in like.
I will